Good afternoon and welcome to Spotlight on Employment Calculus with the CWIC. Thank you for joining me today for our last Spotlight on Employment for National Disability Awareness Month, National Disability Employment Awareness Month. I'm glad you are joining me today as I answer any questions that you have had come up throughout this Spotlight on Employment series, and as I talk to you a little bit about how calculations work with SSI calculation check reductions, SSDI calculations, and I will reveal the new cost of living adjustments hot off the presses from Social Security Administration for 2024. So I'm super excited to be with you today, and we'll get started right away. So what I'd like to do first is to talk about the video on the screen, hoping that you all can see my SSI calculations worksheet on the screen. Would like to talk a little bit about this and go through it. What we'd like to talk about first, remember, if you remember when we were talking about SSI, that SSI is a needs-based program and that your SSI check will go up and down based on how much you make at your job, because it is needs-based and it is designed to pay for food and shelter only. Because of this, your SSI check will be reduced by a $20 will be reduced by a little bit less than half after a $20 general income exclusion is applied. A $65 earned income exclusion is applied, and then for every $2 that you make, $1 will come off of your SSI check. So let's walk through this a little bit on this screen with our column number 1. In the highlighted area, you will see our gross earned income of $757.75. This is a sample of when you are working 20 hours a week at the current minimum wage rate in West Virginia of $8.75 an hour times an average work month of 4.33 weeks. This is how Social Security determines your average work month. So total hours worked times your average hour pay times 4.3 weeks will give you your estimated gross wages. So in column number 1, we get $757.75 at our job. If you notice in this column right here, it says GIE if not used above. GIE is that general income exclusion of $20. Remember that first $20 that you make, Social Security does not count towards your check reduction. So Social Security does not count it when they're looking at a check reduction for you in your calculations. Next up comes your earned income exclusion of $65 right here in this line. So this $65 earned income exclusion is another work incentive reduction that does not count towards your SSI check reduction. After that, if we have any impairment related work expenses, we would take them off here. We talked a little about impairment related work expenses and what they do and what they are like in those videos of SSDI and SSI work incentives. If you'd like to go back and listen to what those are, you can do that. But we're not going to talk about those today. We don't have any impairment related work expenses in this example, so after we take off our $20 general income exclusion and our $65 earned income exclusion, for every $2 we make, $1 must come off of our SSI cash benefit. So we divide by 2, and if we hop to the bottom of that first long column, we see that our total countable earned income is $336.38. It's not what you actually made of $757.75, but what Social Security counts as your countable earnings of $336.38. We're going to skip the next set of numbers and we're going to go straight to the bottom. Our base SSI rate, remember the maximum amount of money that anyone in the United States can get on SSI in 2023 is $914. We subtract that countable earned income of $336.38, and we get an adjusted SSI payment of $577.68. So remember when I was talking about SSI check reduction, your SSI check will always go down if you work. However, what is important is this bottom line under these two double lines. If we take your gross pay of $757.75 and we add your new SSI check of $577.63, we get a total of $1,335.38, which is more than $914. So you will always be financially better off working on SSI. When you are on SSI, you will always be financially better off working. Let's look at another example. In column number 2, we're assuming that we're working 40 hours a week at minimum wage. This gives us a total estimated gross wage of $1,515.50. If we run through the quick calculations and we jump to the bottom, that still gives us a $198.75 SSI check. So even working 40 hours a week, you will still earn a small SSI check, which gives us at the bottom $1,714.25 of spendable income before taxes. Almost double what you would make if you were not working at all. So it's really important what this calculations worksheet shows you is that working is always better. You will always have more money through SSI when you work. So what happens if we work enough that our SSI goes to 0? I have this question come up a lot, and we're going to talk about it now. So, if you worked 40 hours a week and made $11.50 an hour, you would make about $1,991.80 at your job. If we went to the bottom of our calculations worksheet, that means that we would have $914 of SSI minus countable income of $953, which leaves us with an adjusted SSI payment of $0. Typically, when you get $0 of SSI, you are not eligible for SSI for that month or Medicaid for that month. However, if the only reason that you are not eligible for SSI for that month is because of how much you make at your job, and we can say yes to these next 4 questions, you can keep your Medicaid through a program called 1619B. So those 4 questions are over here in our notes. It says keep Medicaid in status 1619B if you remain disabled, need Medicaid to work, stay below that asset and resource limit of $2,000 a month. And this is why it's so important that you have a West Virginia ABLE account if you are eligible for one, because it allows you to shelter some of your assets and resources away from this asset and resource limit to keep your Medicaid and make less than $35,120 annually. So basically what it comes down to is you can keep your Medicaid if you remain disabled, need Medicaid to work, have less than $2,000 in assets and resources, and make less than $35,000 annually, give or take a few $100s. $35,000 is a lot of money. You can work and make that much money and still keep Medicaid. And the nice thing about this is it also allows you to stay eligible for SSI because you are still on the SSI rolls by receiving Medicaid through 1619B. You have not been terminated from SSI because of this. So that's one thing that's really important about SSI and Medicaid is that 1619B status. We want to be able to understand that we can keep SSI and keep Medicaid, SSI status, keep SSI status and keep Medicaid without losing SSI eligibility. Okay, I'm not really sure how to get this off my screen, so we're going to just continue talking while you all look at the calculations worksheet that's up on the screen right now. We did have a couple of questions come in over the past couple weeks from our last few conversations. One of those questions regarded SSI and the student earned income exclusion. That question was, do you have to be a full-time student in order to be eligible for the student earned income exclusion? The answer to that question is yes, you do have to be a full-time student in order to be eligible for the student earned income exclusion, or you must be intending to be going to school full-time in the next semester. So, for example, if you are leaving school in May for summer break and you have a letter that says that you are enrolled full-time in school in the fall, then your student earned income exclusion may qualify you during the summer months. What's the definition of regularly attending school? This is straight out of the Social Security Red Book. Regularly attending school means that you may take one or more course of study and attend class in college or university for at least 8 hours a week. In grades 7 through 12 for at least 12 hours a week. In a training course to prepare for employment for at least 12 hours a week or 15 hours a week if the course involves shop practice, or less time than indicated above for reason beyond the student's control, such as illness. If you are home taught, you may be considered regularly attending school, or if you are instructed in grades 7 through 12 for at least 12 hours a week. The instruction is in accordance with the homeschool law of the state or other jurisdiction by which you reside. So while you must be enrolled in school full-time, the rules for what constitutes in school full-time are different for each level of education that you go through. So when you're in middle to high school, it's one definition. When you're in a post-secondary education or a training program, it's other definitions. When you're homeschooled, it's another definition. It all just depends on what type of educational status you're in. So I hope that answers your question. If you have other questions regarding that, please feel free to give me a call directly and ask me for some more information. I really wanted to just go over this SSI calculation worksheet with you today to show you how working and being on SSI is profitable. And I hope that I showed you that today in these calculations worksheets. What I'd like to do finally, before we wrap up the Spotlight on Employment for National Disability Employment Awareness Month, is go over the cost of living adjustment allowances for 2024. These are hot off the presses, just came out this week from Social Security Administration, and I wanted to share them with you. So listen carefully, because these numbers, remember, are different for whether you receive either SSDI or SSI. So if you receive SSDI, remember that somebody has worked in the past and has paid into the system, so you're either the disabled individual, a disabled adult child, or a disabled widow or widower, and you are either in your trial work period, your extended period of eligibility, or beyond that point, these are the numbers that you will be interested in. The trial work period threshold for 2024 will be $1,110 a month, up from $1,050 a month in 2023. The substantial gainful activity amount for 2024 will be $1,550 a month, up from $1,470 a month in 2023. So that will be the maximum amount of money that a person can make and still receive their SSDI benefits in 2024, $1,550 per calendar month. For those who are on SSI, in 2024, your SSI payment standard will be $943 a month, up from $914 a month if you are an individual on SSI. And if you are an eligible couple, meaning that both partners are receiving SSI, you will receive $1,415 a month, up from $1,371 a month for SSI. The SSI resource limits remain the same, so $2,000 a month for an individual and $3,000 a month for an eligible couple. So remember to keep in mind the ways that you can shelter some of your assets and resources through a PASS plan or the West Virginia ABLE account, Property Essential to Self-Support if you're self-employed, and there are a few other ways to shelter some of your resources and assets. But aside from that, remember that you need to keep your assets and resource limit below $2,000 a month if you are an individual on SSI, and below $3,000 a month if you are an eligible couple, meaning that both partners receive SSI. Thank you so much for joining me during this today and this webinar series, Spotlight on Employment, during National Disability Employment Awareness Month. I hope that you have learned something new, and if you have, please drop in the chat something new that you've learned, or something that you've learned that you had forgotten. It's always nice to talk to you all on the computer during a Facebook Live. I truly enjoy doing these, and I look forward to the next time that I get to talk to you again during a Spotlight on Employment. So thank you very much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of October and enjoy National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Thank you.